We have an amazing opportunity. First of all, if you were not paying attention when we were lifting the Torah, Bob always counts how many columns I get, because this is a lot harder than this. And I got a full 6 today because we're balanced in the middle. Couldn't put it back down, but nailed the 6 columns.
You put it back down, and you didn't drop it.
Right, okay, work in progress. So thank you. But with that, my column checker, it is a great privilege to invite Bob Kershaw to share with us words of Torah this Shabbat. As you may have noticed, as we are, you can come on up here, Bob. We'll get you organized. As you may have noticed, we have, in the last several weeks, been hearing from all kinds of people who participated in our solidarity mission to Israel mid-March. Our participants were so wonderfully moved and so motivated to do all kinds of things upon our return. First and foremost in their minds was to share their experiences with our community and with our congregation. And we're very grateful for their time and reflections and words. This is a gift for us to be able to hear from you, Bob. Bob is always writing things down. And so if you ever need to know a detail that you missed on a trip or in a Torah study, Bob's probably got it. So I'm looking forward to hearing how you feel this Torah portion and this experience and tie them for us together. Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi Hyatt. I take notes because I have ADD and it helps me stay focused. So, but it's a blessing to me. So, and that was 6.5 columns today. It was shown, and typically it's 3 for most rabbis to hold up, but about 3 or sometimes 4. So. That's the result of having young toddlers and developing guns, so good job. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
I want to acknowledge and thank Cantor Sachs for asking me and trusting me to write this Devar Torah. She asked me to make it about the Israel Solidarity Mission trip, which I was very fortunate to be part of. She told me that this Parsha has some really interesting elements. And I also want to thank Leslie for wanting to go on this trip and for encouraging me to go also. If we were in Israel, Rabbi Hyatt, when she gave the instructions at the beginning of the service, would have also included instructions of what to do when the sirens sound, where to go for safety, and but we don't do that here because we don't have that. That is not part of life for us, but it is there. The Parsha this week covers Leviticus 9 to 11. It's entitled Shemini. It starts with the phrase on the 8th day, which is following a 7-day ordination period for Aaron and his sons. And the highlights of the Parsha are, it starts with Aaron and his sons following Moses' instructions and offering sacrifices to purify the people. And then there's a portion that Rabbi Hyatt talked through and read and chanted for us that I won't need to go over. And then priests are told not to drink alcohol before entering the sacred tabernacle, and given some further instructions about sacrifices. And there's a whole bunch of laws and rules about kashrut and kosher, about unclean animals and what to do if you touch them. And so that's this Parsha. After reading the Parsha, and some of the commentaries that included input from a number of well-known sages, I was at quite a loss and thought, good grief, nothing in this Parsha passage relates to anything we learned and experienced in Israel on this mission. So I needed to ponder a bit. And as I pondered, I just thought about the trip some, and I went on this trip to be a spectator, to hear, to see, maybe to even to experience a little. And so I started pondering the trip on that, with that mindset. And the trip began on Monday, March 17th. That morning, the IDF restarted the war against Hamas. So our agenda immediately changed. On Tuesday, we were supposed to go to the Gaza envelope and visit a kibbutz, the Nova Concert Memorial, and have a barbecue that evening with a bunch of IDF soldiers that had been withdrawn from Gaza and were stationed at the fence. That was one of the things I was most looking forward to at the trip. All that was canceled because that was now back to being a war zone. So the agenda, unsurprisingly, was altered. Cantor Sachs and Rabbi Hyatt told us at the beginning, ahead of time, that Israel is a fluid environment and that they would give us the final itinerary of the trip once it was over. They were correct as usual. On Tuesday, we started off picking fruit for a charity. It was above ground root that I don't know what it was and never had it before, but our group picked 1,500 pounds of this fruit in an hour or so. The event started with a sweet woman talking to us in a tractor trailer truck setting, where she explained to us that when the sirens sound, not if the sirens sound, but when the siren sounds, we are to lie face down in the ditch next to where we are, with our hands over our head until the sirens stop, plus 10 minutes, and then get back up and go back to work, but kind of nonchalant. Like, that's what happens all the time. So we went to work, and we worked that day without sirens that morning. But during the rest of the week, several times, we did have to go for cover and follow instructions for sirens going off. That was for rockets or missiles on their way to Israel that were aimed in the general location that we were. That's what sirens are very specific. After picking the fruit, we went to South Tel Aviv to hear from a woman named Orit. She was from the kibbutz Kfar Aza, which is located a half a mile from the Gaza fence. You can Google it and see it. She talked, wept, and cried while we listened and wept and cried. 64 of her friends on the kibbutz, including her ex-husband, were murdered, their homes destroyed, and 19 of her friends were taken hostage into Gaza that day on October 7th. As Orit talked, I realized I'm not a spectator. I'm a participant, and we are drawn into the life of Israel. With that perception in mind, I went back to Leviticus 9, and here's a connection that I realized. Spectators and participants experience things differently. I make no judgment here. Both are important, both are valuable, but they experience the event differently. Being a spectator is really different than a participant, but both are needed, and there's no judgment I'm making here on that. So, my first description or summary of Leviticus 9 to 11 was as a distant spectator. Dry, calm, sterile. Let's look at it briefly as a participant. You can join me in this if you want to. We hear a priest call out for a temple Emanuel to come forward, for the bull that is being sacrificed for us. We move through the crowd to get close to the huge stone altar with a big fire burning on top of it. More wood is being added to the fire. The fire is hot and the heat is waving over us. Smoke is acrid and heavy. The priests are not dressed in beautiful adornments and vestments. A couple of them have butcher aprons on. Most of the priests are semi-naked, and they're covered with blood, gore, and mud. And sweat. They're working hard. There's a pen of animals over on the side that have been watching what's going on, and they sense what's happening, and they are screaming bloody murder in their own voices and manners. 5 or 6 of the young, strong priests are manhandling a bull out of the pen over to the slaughter area. The bull fights them and bellows all the time. They flop it on its side. A priest is praying words that I can't hear and really don't understand. A knife slits the throat of the bull, and 2 priests are using bowls to try and catch the blood that is pouring and spurting out of the bull's throat. The bull's bellowing, then the bull stops bellowing, just twitching, and then he's still. He's dead. The next thing is they start skinning it, and the skin goes in a pile to be taken outside of the fence, and we're watching this up close. Then they slit the belly, and the internal organs spill out, and they take a bunch of those organs and throw them on the fire. Now to be burned to ash. Now the smell of the smoke is very pungent. Next, they take the stomach, and the intestines are to be burned. They put those on the fire, and they swell and burst, and then the smoke turns into a stench. Just imagine. Fat and meat are now being burned on the fire, adding a whole new set of smells. A priest splashes blood on the side of the altar. It runs down the gutter into pools of other blood. Meat is being roasted on poles. I guess it's going to be eaten. It goes on and on. We're not spectators. We're participants in that event. Drawn in, senses overwhelmed. It's visceral. So back to Orit. Prior to meeting Orit from Kibbutz Kfar Aza, we entered a quiet, sterile conference room with plates of fruit and vegetables and water on the table. I thought, nice place, calm to listen and learn. This is good. Then Orit started to talk, and she spoke and she wept through story after story. The calm, quiet conference room exploded with her pain, anger, and anguish. Orit is about 45 or 50 years old. She has 4 kids. She's divorced, but got along well with her ex-husband who lived 2 doors away from her on the kibbutz. They were doing well raising their 4 children together. On the night of October 6th, Friday night, she and her kids had gone to Tel Aviv to have Shabbat dinner with their mother. She had a hard time finding a place to park and ended up parking in a no parking zone, but thought, oh, come on, it's Shabbat, Simchat Torah, Shabbat, no one's going to bother this. So later that evening, they came out to go home and found her car had been towed. So they spent the night with her mother in Tel Aviv. So she was not at the kibbutz Saturday morning when it was attacked by Hamas. She showed photos of the kibbutz, her murdered, kidnapped friends. She talked and wept for an hour of person after person, real stories about real people, all dead or taken hostage. There were no spectators in the room. We were all drawn in, senses overwhelmed. We were all participants. She had been a peacenik her whole life, dedicated to making it work with the Palestinians in Gaza. It's part of why she lived there. She'd say, I have 4 kids on this side of the fence, you have 4 kids on that side of the fence. We can make this together. We can make this work. Let's work this together. They gave Gazans jobs in the kibbutz. They went shopping for them. They helped them with medical care, things like that. Now, after October 7th, she says, no more. I'm done with you. I have 4 kids I raised to love and care. You have 4 kids that you have raised to hate and to kill me and to kill my kids. So no more. I am done with you. Stay on that side. Stay away. I have nothing more for you. I cut you off. Those were her words. And I think, Orit, I get it. Yes, of course. How can it be different? All week, we had session after session, testimonial after testimonial to see, hear, feel pain, and bear witness of victims, hostages, survivors, family and friends, the nation of Israel. It wasn't a blur, but a journey of personal connection with desperately hurting people. Prior to the trip starting, Leslie and I were in Tel Aviv for a day or two early to help her with jet lag. And we were on the promenade right along the beach, and we were walking, and we came across a woman pushing her baby carriage with an infant in her arms. And Leslie loves kids, and she ended up talking with the gal and talked for a couple minutes, and she said, what a lovely child, is boy or girl? And she said, well, we'd wished for a girl, but he's my son. He's a boy. And we asked, well, why did you wish for a girl? And she said, in 17 years, I have to give him up to the IDF. And will most likely experience horrors that I can't even imagine. And as a girl, it might not be so hard. So it's a nation, an entire nation with varying degrees of PTSD. People with different perspectives, different stories, different solutions, different demands, each equally needing to be valued and understood. So here's the juxtaposition of Orit. At the end of the week, on Shabbat, on Friday, we went to a small Jewish village with a Reform synagogue located just outside the West Bank barrier, the Green Line, south of Jerusalem, about even with Bethlehem. Before the Shabbat service, Yanni's mother, Ilana, spoke with us. Yanni was an IDF soldier killed on October 7th. He was a hero. He was stationed at a base immediately north of the Gaza fence, right on the Mediterranean Sea. Above his base was Ashkelon. He was 22, 3 years in the IDF. He served as a platoon commander for basic trainees. On October 7th, the base was largely empty. Nearly all the soldiers were off for Simchat Torah leave. Just Yanni and 3 experienced soldiers were there, along with 20 or 30 brand new recruits that had just been basically fitted for their uniforms and given a rifle, but didn't really know how to even fire it yet. When the attack started, Yanni had the inexperienced recruits moved to a secure building in the middle of the base, locked themselves in, and he and the other 3 soldiers, one of whom was a woman, moved to the fence to engage the terrorists. They fought for an hour and a half, killed many. They had moved into a bunker together, fighting together, when a terrorist used a rocket-propelled grenade, RPG, to blow up the bunker, which killed them all. But the new recruits were not discovered. Yanni had saved them. Their fighting alerted the village or a kibbutz just north of the base that something big was happening. It gave them time to get out their weapons, set their security plan in place, and they were not overrun, and the terrorists did not make it to Ashkelon, which was their objective. Ilana did not want to have Yanni's life be defined by the last 90 minutes. So she shared, often weeping, how could she not, stories of Yanni's life, his values, his character. I was overwhelmed at what an amazing, talented, caring, mature young man Yanni was. I felt Israel's pain in losing such a man. What he might have become if not killed so young serving his country. In conclusion, Ilana shared that there's a poor Palestinian village a half a mile inside the West Bank barrier from their village, so a mile away from them, that they were friends with. And October 7th, she and her friends started calling the Palestinian village to see how they were, if they were safe. This village is in a valley, and right above it is a ridge with a large Jewish settlement on it. And so they were calling the Palestinians, "Are you guys safe? Do you need anything? We're worried about you." The Palestinians responded with, "How can you be worried about us with this attack going on to you? We're overwhelmed." And Ilana's response was, "How can we not call? How can this conflict ever change, be resolved, unless we keep reaching out, keep talking, keep supporting? I do it for Yanni. There's no other way." And I sat there and I said, "Yes, Ilana, I get it, of course." So here we have Orit, cut him off, no more. I get it. We have Ilana, we must keep talking, caring, it's the only way. Yes, I get it. For me, I'm not confused about it, I'm conflicted. Both perspectives are painful, both perspectives valid, even at the same time. All week, we experienced stories and experiences just as conflicting, painful, full of anguish. And yes, I get it. A land and a people without easy answers, but in spite of the pain, anguish, and PTSD, we also encountered an unwavering spirit of determination to prevail. That we are Jews. This is our homeland. We're not going anywhere. We're here. We are living and celebrating life in the midst of this death, despair, national turmoil, and conflict. We will go on. Next week, on April 30th, we celebrate Israel's Memorial Day, honoring the sacrifice for all who have died in service to Israel. On the very next day, on May 1st, we celebrate Israel's Independence Day, celebrating the miracle of the Jewish state. These back-to-back days were chosen on purpose. Jews live with both truths, despair and loss next to joy and the surety of the future. Duality is who we are, which is what I experienced in the stories and responses to Orit, Elena, and the rest. So whether it's considering Leviticus 9 or experiencing Israel today, participating can be intense. For Leviticus 9, a personal connection to a sacrifice to God being made to me is different than just spectating it. For this trip, connection to Israel in ways I never imagined, could never expected. These were just two stories from a long list. I'd like to end with just 10 seconds of silence for Yanni, which is about the time he would have had from seeing the RPG pulled out, aimed, and fired, and it striking the bunker. So 10 seconds. In that instant, Yanni passed into eternity. And in that same instant, Yanni's mother, family, friends, fellow soldiers, pain, anguish, sorrow just began, and for many, it will never end. I expected to hear and see so much. I did not expect to experience an entire nation with PTSD, but trying to live in a normal manner with the unshakable belief that life is good. So for Israel, I say, may God keep you, shine on you, strengthen your hope, and give you peace that seems so elusive, to which we must continue to seek. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Yasher koach.
With all of those words in our hearts, thank you, Bob. We rise as we are able to return the Torah to the Ark.